How are you? Busy night tonight, huh? Both hands.
Everybody would please take your seats. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's the Arundel Planning Board. Today is November 7th, 2019. We're meeting in the MLD Elementary School Spanish room. I'll start with a roll call.
Roger Moran.
Tom McGinn.
Rich Ganong.
Jamie Lowry.
We have approval of the agenda, public comment, approval of the minutes for October 22nd and October 24th. I believe October 22nd was sidewalk.
Sidewalk, had nothing to do with me,
Okay.
so I know nothing about them.
We have three items on the agenda for public hearing. We have Oak Ridge Terrace, a preliminary subdivision application. Raymond Acres, re-subdivision of an approved subdivision. Item 3, Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve, major conditions of use application. After the public hearings, we will address Oak Ridge Terrace, a major preliminary subdivision application. Raymond Acres, a subdivision of an improved subdivision. And Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve, major conditional use application. Then if there's any other business that the board wants to deal with, and then we'll go home. So, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We could hold off on the minutes, I haven't three of them.
We can table that to the air.
They're okay.
Are we gonna even be able to do any, well, I wasn't at the meeting, so.
And
And
then
neither
we'll
was
start.
Rich,
We will not be able to.
right,
approve
so we're gonna
these.
table them.
So we're just gonna table them to a future meeting. So, now we need a motion as amended for the approval of the agenda.
Yeah, move we approve the agenda with the removal of approval minutes. I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Public comment. This is the time in the meeting where if there is something that is not on the agenda and you are an Arundel citizen, you can let us know and we can work on putting it on an agenda or doing something. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring to the attention of the board?
Do you have any more agendas up there? Stack here, and if anybody hasn't signed in, there's a list over there, and if you could do so, I would really appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one, we will move on to the next section. Public hearings. Item number 1, Oak Ridge Terrace, a major preliminary subdivision application and proposal to develop a 14-lot subdivision on a 66.9-acre parcel identified as tax map 17, lot 15A, at the intersection of South Skillings Road and Limerick Road in the R2 and shoreland zones. Walter Woods is the property owner and Jason Vafiades is the applicant of record. Take it away if you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm conspicuously not Jason Vafiades.
I was
which
going
is
to
the-
say that, but thought I would be nice.
Which is the correct pronunciation of his name.
I can never get it right.
He has in his stead sent Mr. Charlie Burnham from his engineering firm for answers to any technical questions that any members of the public or
Okay.
members of the board may have. Just a brief review.
State your name, please.
My name is James Logan. I am a wetland scientist, soil scientist, and certified our licensed site evaluator, septic designer with the company Longview Partners. I've been working with Walter Woods and Jason from the start on this project. Actually, I began originally working on this property when the abutter bought his property from Roger Davis, originally the original farm owner of this lot. We were last here, I believe it was October 24th, with you when Jason was here and addressed what we felt were the final comments and any issues that were still outstanding. I believe he resolved most all of those, if not all of those, with Tad Redway in advance of this meeting. Those had to do predominantly with shoreline zoning interpretations in your ordinance. I believe all of the lots have now been modified in such a fashion so that they now comply fully with the specific wording in your ordinance, particularly stream protection, I believe it was. One of the comments at that meeting, I believe, referenced the need to show culverting at each of the driveway locations at the head of the driveways. He's now provided 15-inch culverts and calculations for those. He's also provided a plan for your review, I believe it shows the location of proposed potential septic sites and the nitrate plumes from those sites, as well as well exclusion zones and at least conceptual house locations, so that the board could interpret that. And he's also provided, as I understand, homeowners association docs for the board's preliminary plan, hopefully their preliminary plan approval this evening. Other than that, I'm available to answer any specific questions. This project, for those that weren't here through the whole process, began as a subdivision that included several wetland impacts for what was a proposed road that came off of the town's infrastructure in a different fashion. Walter's worked long and hard with the abutters. I believe the board's mostly knowledgeable about those deliberations in such a fashion, and really coordinated an effort with the neighbors to provide what we feel is a pretty solid subdivision plan that didn't end up requiring any wetland impacts whatsoever. So here was a perfect reconsideration of a road alignment and a lot layout that literally took every wetland impact away that we could have possibly conceived in the first place to make a subdivision at this location. So I'm kind of proud to say that, because that often is just the reverse of what has to happen much of the time. We've addressed, I believe, most, if not all, of the any specific natural resource issues that were raised. We have no Army Corps of Engineers overview required for this project, because again, there are no wetland impacts. The Corps' oversight is limited to just those projects that have wetlands and water body impacts. I'm available for any other questions.
Does anybody in the public have any questions for the applicant?
Is this me? Is it my turn? Can I speak?
If you have something
Yes,
you
this
want to say for
public
the,
hearing.
for the applicant, this is a public hearing, so please state
It's my
your
turn.
name.
Okay, I first have a question. I'm Sandy Neto. I am the I represent Stone Farm, and I am mom to the farmer, a very proud mom of a farmer. And I want to state right off the bat that Stone Farm is here to represent Stone Farm, and it has nothing to do with the Woods family or anything that, we're not at all bitter about the subdivision going in the back. We're just trying to protect our little farm, very best we can, and we've been here all along trying to do that. And so we're gonna continue to do that tonight. There was just one point, and we haven't had a chance to look at these, maps, so I don't know what you're looking at. But did, the Davis Pond was listed as Duck Pond on the last map, and we requested that it be changed. Has that happened? I don't know that. I haven't seen it, so it's just a point of clarification. You know, down in our neck of the woods.
Mr. Logan, do you know if that change was made?
This particular plan I'm looking at still refers to Duck Pond. And not Davis Pond. I would submit to the board that that's a detail that we can certainly address between preliminary and final.
No, I agree.
It still be noted again, it was perhaps.
Yeah, I'm also gonna.
Is it referred to as Duck Pond on other maps? I mean, how'd you come up with that name?
I was picked off, it was, Duck Pond is further down Limerick Road, it
Oh,
was just, it was
right,
an
that's right.
oversight, that's all.
Oh, see, I always thought it was Duck Pond because Duck Brook comes off there and
There-
flows.
You know, there's a lot of misconception about it, I think we were just gonna go.
I thought it was that point too.
Sorry.
Perhaps he's,
Holy milk kitty.
then let me stand here before you and say, I'm not so sure either way. And maybe he's checked and it's correct as stuff.
I would just have to find out.
Let me know that it will.
We'll
Yeah.
make a note, if it needs to be changed, it will be done on the final plan. before
Just
approval.
referencing that, I have a FEMA map from 1996 depicting it as Davis
Okay,
Pond.
I am profoundly hard of hearing,
Yeah.
and so I'm not really gonna be able to correspond to questions. I'm a one-sided show here. So I will, I really don't know what just transpired, but I'm assuming you're gonna change it.
We're going to investigate it to find out what the correct name of the pond is. If the correct name is Davis, it will be changed to Davis.
Perfect. Satisfies me. Okay.
Google says
Um,
Davis.
I've done some snooping around on different comprehensive plans and zoning. But one thing that really fascinated me was the economic development plan that the residents of Arundel spent a lot of money putting out. And it's actually on the town website. You can go and you can just look at it. And what the expert found out was that he first lists a lot of things that Arundel doesn't have. Arundel doesn't have an ocean, Arundel doesn't have. But the primary thing that Arundel had that he felt was a huge asset was farming. And he said it defines the area. And if Arundel is smart, they will monopolize on their farming community. And the world is kind of evolving around farming in that it's an educational thing. People are coming to vacation and see farms. But the catch-22 is the average age of farmers in Maine is almost 60. I have a son who's 33 that's trying to do it. The average net income of a farmer in Maine is $16,000. I have a son who's an intensive care nurse that works at Maine Med that tries to fund a little farm here. So farming's not easy. And so we all have to really support farming the very best way we can. And the farmers, and we've had a huge amount of support in Arundel, their little Charlie Brown roadside stand. So we thank everybody for that. But beyond that, in the comprehensive plan, it very clearly states that you want to protect the town's significant historical and archaeology resources. And then in the zoning, it says you want to protect local areas and structures of significant aesthetic and historic value and preserve the rural character, all very wonderfully spelled out. I'm here to say every town has a magical place or two that they should really look to preserving, and Davis Farm is one of them. There's a cemetery on Davis Farm that has been protected by the common land, thank goodness, and it dates back to the 1700s, when Revolutionary War heroes are buried there. The captain of the 1st Militia of York County is buried there. So it speaks to how long Stone Farm has been there, or Davis Farm. We consider ourselves the caretakers. The house was originally built in the 1800s and burned to the ground in 1944. And the community got together, mostly women, because it was the height of World War II, and built a little house on the very same footprint, all out of cement blocks. It's an adorable little place, and when we bought the property, it was listed as a tear down, and we completely renovated it, saving what we could and repurposing what we could and whatever. The barn is an 1800s barn that was moved from Goodwin's Mills to the property. The beams are still numbered and the pegs so that you can see where it was moved. And of course, we are heartbroken that right next to the farm, there are 2 estate lots that have been divided off. On lot 1, it will seriously impact the farm aesthetically, because when you stand and you look out on the land, you're gonna see a modern house. And it will divide a field in half. The second field is a hill, and it's the highest open field on the Davis farm. It was hayed for hundreds of years for the animals that live there. And Mr. Davis, as he aged, couldn't keep up with lots and lots of the backland. But that piece of property was very sacred to him. His deer wintered there, bedded there, and it was his access to his little shed where he kept his farm tools. So obviously that is gonna impact the farm. We would desperately like to figure out a way to save that for the community, for the, we have big plans to open the farm for school groups to come, to learn about wetlands, to learn about Davis Pond, to learn about the history of their ancestors, to learn about farming, eating healthy, and we would love to preserve that. There are a couple of things that speak to that, besides the general statements that I just read. One is in the zoning ordinance. It's section 9E, and it says, on any parcel of 5 or more acres of important natural resources, noted as existing farmland soils, open fields, or pastures, or registered tree growth, woodland. The dwelling layout, meaning one layout, will be clustered on such land as to the practical extent so that at least 90% of the important resources remain undeveloped. I think that Walter Woods or Jim Logan has done a great job of preserving wetlands, and which is incredibly important to us because we depend on clean water. Without a clean water supply, you don't farm. And so that too has been very important to us. But this specifically refers to fields and farms and open land. And I don't think there is any other open land or farms in the property that is not ours, which is a lot. So these are the only fields that they could preserve and the only farmland. The rest is wooded and wetland. So I would really love to have you look at that. Last time we talked a little bit about a vernal pool, and that's something that people don't know about who are here, that I'd love them to know about. And a significant vernal pool was found on the border of our property and Mr. Woods. And it was documented by a very reputable company that actually Jim Logan works with sometimes. And they found it to be the home of both spotted turtles and salamanders. So,
Let her finish.
okay. And so that too is a really important thing to teach about and to know that that's a very special thing to protect. So we would love to have you think about preserving the historical part of Davis Farm.
Mr. Logan?
I wanted to mention again the vernal pool. I want to make a point again, the last meeting we were here at, we addressed that, and we have a project that complies 100% with both the Army Corps of Engineers standard, if we had a Corps project, which we don't have oversight, and we have everything over 250 feet away from the thing referred to, and I'm still not sure it's a significant vernal pool because I don't know if it's naturally occurring. I would ask the question again. Last meeting, I asked these folks, did you send your paperwork into the state? Because if it hasn't been submitted to the state, it's not officially recognized by anybody. Have you forwarded paperwork to Inland Fisheries and Wildlife on your vernal pool?
We have researched 2 different sources, and both sources say that if both abutter property owners know about the vernal pool, they're obliged to take care of it, and abide by its setbacks, regardless of whether it's,
It was your
registered or not.
study, you commissioned it, it's your information, not ours. We don't own it, you own it, you commissioned it.
But-
You've brought it here as a matter of public record. I believe you're supposed to submit it to the state, to have it officially recognized, again, to the board's common, interest in this is, my only concern is if they would like we have a plan that fully complies with every standard for vernal pools. My point to these people is just, if they wanna play it here as part of a public record, they should be willing to submit it to the state and live and abide by the same rigid standards that apply to us with the vernal pool on our side of the project. That's all the point that I'm making. Beyond that, the board needs to know we have a project that fully complies with standards for vernal pools of complete significance.
Through the chair,
I would
Hang on,
like,
Marty.
I would love to speak to that. I'm
through
thrilled.
the chair,
Hang on for a minute, Marty.
Can I speak to, no.
Go for it.
I want to know, has it been submitted? It has been over several months through the process of questioning and anything else. Has it been submitted to either way to the state?
It has not.
no, it is not. But if the board requests it, I will do it tomorrow.
It is
Uh,
not, it is
through
not
the-
something that is the
through
board's
the
purview
chair.
to request. Yeah, Marty?
I
At the last meeting, it was documented. If it was going to be submitted, it would be submitted. It has been a year or better. Correct me if I'm wrong on my dates and times. That it would be submitted. If it hasn't been submitted, what is taking the time?
It is not the board's purview to tell you to submit something to the state. If
Okay.
you wanna do it, go ahead.
Okay.
We can't tell you to do that.
Okay.
I can tell you why. We can certainly submit it, but I actually brought a copy of vernal pool regulations in Maine, questions frequently answered. It asks, and it says, these waters may include vernal pools, talking about the Army Corps, of any size and productivity, even if they are not state-recognized vernal pools. So you do not have to register it with the state in order for it to be, we will, but you don't have to.
Can we just put this aside? Again, I'm gonna point out, we don't have a project that has Army Corps of Engineers oversight.
And-
It's
and
moot. You're
that is-
making a point
That
that's
is what
moot.
this addresses, is whether or not it's Army Corps of Engineers. And it is from them, so
Okay.
he's correct, it's a moot point.
Okay.
I
That's
can't,
fair.
I didn't understand
It's,
that.
it's from the Army Corps of Engineers, so it's a moot point.
The Army Corps of Engineers has no jurisdiction over this property, so there's, it doesn't matter what they say, they have no right, no jurisdiction. If this had been a large enough project and there had been enough wetlands impacted, then the Army Corps of Engineers would have had jurisdiction, and we would have, something different would have happened out there. But in this case, they do not.
And just so you know, we mentioned the vernal pool with no intention of getting an argument about whether or not we were under the impression it was, or they were already complying with it. We have intentions of submitting it if need be. So just let the record show. I think the biggest thing to take away was we're still incredibly concerned about the historical aspect of Davis Farm. There is a 12-lot cluster subdivision going in the back acreage. There is also two completely separate lots that are numbered with the rest. Completely, in two fields directly surrounding the historic Davis Farm. Why is that allowed when the ordinance specifically speak that all lots must be clustered as practically as possible?
Then you misunderstand the term cluster. Cluster does not mean they have to be side by each, up against each other. You have to have enough land that you can leave in an open space qualification. You can put your house there, You can put other houses like they have done up here on the top of the hill. All of these lots are big enough, but they're all part of the same development process.
So, the word cluster doesn't mean grouped together to you?
No, that's not.
So theoretically, in a subdivision, you could have lots all over the place.
You could have 10-acre clusters, and you would have houses that are 10 acres apart from each other. And that's not clustering, it's,
Through the chair.
Hang on,
There
yeah,
are
Marty.
subdivisions that, I mean, in the cluster ordinance, the cluster provision in the subdivision ordinance has been around for a long time. And there are, at least one that I can think of off the top of my head, where the lots are set up in sort of pods around. So it's the intent is to lessen the lot size so that your overall impact of the subdivision is reduced instead of having
It's basically,
larger
we wanna have-
lots, larger
we
infrastructure.
want more open space.
Right.
And the way we get that is through the cluster subdivision, because that regulation requires them to leave open space. So that there will be walking trails or whatever that happens to address. Otherwise, they could build it, not have it as a clustered subdivision, and you wouldn't, definitely not like that result.
That's wrong.
Through the
That was
chair.
a bit close.
Yeah, Marty?
The fact is, we have been discussing this for the last year along the way. And everything else has been proven and documented between vernal pools, roadside, and everything else along the way. And has been proven, it has met all the qualifications and ordinance requests. The only thing we're doing now is going round and round and up and down and doing nothing. If it meets the request and everything else, I suggest that we proceed forward.
Marty, the purpose of the public hearing is to allow
I'm
people to.
just throwing my mouth
That's
out.
exactly what is happening. Does anyone else have questions or comments for the applicant? Okay, remember, this is just a preliminary approval. There will be a final approval, probably in the spring, possibly sooner, depends on how quickly the applicant can proceed forward.
Let's say in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
One more.
In the next 2 to 4 weeks, it'll push it into January. You know, because we have 2 more meetings this year. We have a meeting in 2 weeks, and then we have a meeting in December.
I'll make sure we have it in next week.
Okay.
Can I have one more question about the cluster subdivision ordinances? It speaks to landscape buffers. It says the development shall be designed with a continuous landscape area not less of 50 feet in width, to be located on all exterior lot lines of the development, except streets or driveways. So the estate lots, we had a question, Jim Rooney, who's also being bordered by one of the estate lots. We had a question about how that was gonna be addressed. And have if anyone wants to. Right there's the.
If you'd like to, Jim.
I spoke with Walter earlier, and we've come to an agreement about putting in some buffer trees,
Okay.
and I'm okay with that.
No. Thank you very much.
But
I have you.
Oh, okay.
Any other comments or questions for the applicant?
What is that? Is that?
How is that gonna affect, we have lot lines extending into a field as well. Is there gonna be a border there?
that's something
We'll
we'll take
have to-
up
we'll have to
when we
address on the
address it
final
in the
plan.
deliberation or, yeah.
Okay.
This is a
Okay.
public hearing.
Gotcha,
And
okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
strive very hard to not get into the back and forth
Yes.
until we get into the deliberation,
That makes
which
sense.
is coming up after
makes
the
sense.
other public hearings
Okay.
tonight.
If there are no other comments by anyone in the public, I am going to close the public hearing at 7:31.
To the chair,
Yeah, Marty?
question is, are there any other butters that are presently here that have any problems or
Marty?
questions?
Nobody else had any questions when I asked. So we
I'm
don't,
just,
we
I'm
don't need
just
to.
throwing that out
That portion of the
through the
public
chair.
hearing is closed, and we don't need to continue. that. Item 2, Raymond Acres subdivision of an approved subdivision.
Well, you're gonna close the public hearing
I
first.
closed the public hearing on Oak Ridge. I have
Yes,
not-
sir.
I have not, I just opened the public hearing on Raymond Acres. The proposed subdivision of Lot 5-03, addition of land from tax map 30, Lot 5A, to create a fifth lot in the Raymond Acres subdivision at 22 Black Dog Road in the R2 and SP districts. Nicholas Raymond is the applicant, Mary Ann Raymond is the property owner. Take it away, boss.
Hi,
First off, does anybody have any questions for the applicant about the Black Dog subdivision and the change?
through the chair, have they submitted everything, including the happy fire chief letter?
Yes, we have all of the paperwork that we need.
At the last meeting, which you were not present at, sir, I'm only asking that,
I understand that. We can discuss that when we get to our side of the discussion.
yeah, but I'm just saying, in the public hearing, everything has
Marty,
been happy.
we don't ask questions in the public hearing. It is
All right,
for the
sir.
public to ask.
I will,
And if nobody has any questions, at 7:33, I will close Raymond Acres public hearing, and we will open Arundel Cottage Preserve major conditional use application, a proposal to expand facilities at the Cape Arundel Community Center, including an additional swimming pool on a 300-plus acre parcel, tax map 15, lot 13 in the BI district. Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve LLC is the owner and applicant, and Rick Light of Light Environmental Design LLC is the applicant's agent. Take it away, Rick.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Give me 1 second to set, where's, right here, okay? Second, kept on camera.
oh, that's good, Dave, and whatever.
Yeah, in this
Do you
room,
have
putting
anything
anything
to
on
show
camera is
us?
difficult.
That we need to know from prior experience.
Let me save you just a second, Rick.
That's the old sign.
Does anybody from the public have any questions for the applicants?
They look pretty, I know.
If nobody has any questions, then at 7:34, I will close the public hearing. Don't go away, because we're gonna have to go through stuff with you anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And we will move on to pending applications, pending application, item number 1. Oak Ridge Terrace, a major preliminary subdivision application, a proposal to develop a 14-lot subdivision on a 66.9 acre parcel identified as tax map 17, lot 15A, at the intersection of South Skillings Road and Limerick Road in the R2 and shoreland zones. Walter Woods is the property owner. Jason is the applicant of record. I'm not gonna put your poor man's name again.
Jason B.
works, right?
Okay. Does
Wait.
the board have any questions? Marty, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No,
Does anybody else?
I think the applicant has proven to a reasonable circumstance that any questions that have been risen, questioned, or anything else along the way between the butters or road changes and buffering has been totally met with everything else besides the question of the vernal pool.
Anybody else on the board? I believe the town planner's not here, he's got something going on, but I believe he's waiting for a phone call from somebody in DEP.
Regarding
Yeah.
the subject?
The subject is, I wanna say it's lots 2 and 4. If you come here, I can show you what it is. It's lots 4 and 5, because this is the plume. It hits right on the edge of this stream. He wanted to make sure that that was not a problem for them.
Oh,
We don't,
that's.
we don't anticipate anything, but he wanted to make sure
I'll
of
note
that.
4 and 5, I will make note of that. I personally don't, I'm not a hydrogeologist.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably beyond DEP 22, but we'll get a
Well,
response.
if they say it's not a problem,
It's perfect.
okay.
Great.
So would the same thing apply to lot 7?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
Because it doesn't hit the stream right here, it actually does, because this is the stream right over here. So it actually hits up against it. So he was gonna look at that and make sure that it's okay.
If you notice when
Tad didn't seem to think that there was gonna be a problem.
No, my understanding,
Right.
just to the board, to the board's point, and my understanding of it is provided the nitrate analysis met the standard on the model and the position of the wastewater as it was proposed, the wastewater location is otherwise complying with the Maine State Plumbing Code and all of the rest of the DEP Natural Resource Protection Act standards, which we have complied with. That's why we believe it to be adequate, but we will seek that
We just wanna
response
make
back.
sure.
If the plumes do touch the edge of the wetland, we want that confirmation.
That was the only thing, and we should have that answer. Tad may have gotten it this afternoon.
Yeah. I would have assumed if he had, he might have tried to reach Jason, and maybe I would have heard about it, but it wouldn't surprise me knowing the DEP staff and their workload, that maybe we didn't hear back from them today.
Hopefully he'll hear back from him soon.
I'd like to think so.
Okay.
So I was not at the last meeting, but in the previous meeting to that, I do remember there being a topic of conversation regarding a potential artificial buffer on lot 1, a planted buffer. Was there ever any more discussion with that, or between?
We did not have any more specific discussion to my knowledge. I believe what was just read exempted driveways or roadways, and a portion of that is
Driveway.
a driveway, obviously.
All
There
of it's
is,
a driveway.
but there is a line segment of that lot number 1 that is through an open field, and it may be that short line segment that needs buffering, according to the ordinance, and that is something we would address between now and final.
Okay.
We did not have a formal conversation about that specific line segment.
through the chair,
Yeah, Marty.
I think that we were speaking on lot 1, which the abutter was here at the time, which is not here now, which I had requested on confirmation that you were putting on a 50-foot driveway at the time, and it was running along behind Mr. Rooney, I think, if I'm correct. And you have talked to him and described where lot 1 would be, and you have made comparable or along the way of discussions of what would be there and everything else. And he was here at the present time, prior,
Is-
10 minutes ago.
Right, that was Mr. Rooney that spoke and said that he had talked with
Yes.
Mr.
And
Woods.
That's
and
a
everything
reference
was
to lot
set.
2,
That
that's
was
a reference to lot
that
2.
was a
Oh,
reference.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
And
And
Reference to lot two.
again, it's also referencing the driveway location,
Correct.
which I believe
Is exempt.
was
It
exempted
is.
in your
It
ordinance.
is.
It is exempt from the.
We really are just talking about one very short line segment through a piece of field, and We have some farm field on our project area, but we have the little shreds of what's left of
It's
the farm.
exempted, it's
They
exempted.
got the farm.
And the driveway for lot one is basically about 7/8 majority coming up to the piece of property anyways, and the driveway's already existing, it's already there, because it services the Davis farm.
Right, yep, that's that turn.
That's correct. But there is a short section of land, probably, I'd say roughly 40 to 70 feet long, that would be, that could be vegetated. If the board, feels comfortable with that, we can, well, that's a good thing. But I can tell you that we're not cutting any trees on that lot to put this house in, because the trees do wrap around the farm section. The only section that will be visible, so basically,
This is the line.
the trees come back around the backside of my property, which abuts the Davis farm. So there's trees already there, we're not cutting any trees whatsoever on that piece of property where we're setting that house in.
Was this the meadow that we had a discussion about?
No, the meadow is, meadow is up around the back, well, the meadow is up behind, across from the vernal pool
This
area,
house
is where the meadow is.
Okay, so it's not like it's a big wide.
Well, I wasn't sure if this
And
was
the lot,
an area where we
the
had.
tree line scallop here is not
Lot
perfectly
one
accurate.
is, lot one has a small, it does have a small field in it, lot one.
Right.
And you can see where the trees are depicted.
Yeah.
It does have a small open area of which we're placing the house, leach field, right within that area and not cutting any trees because it's already been cleared.
So
And it's natural as it is, and we're gonna blend that house right into that little hill that's right there. And to meet with the historical value, that will be a farmhouse style looking home that we are gonna be building there. It will, it's not a modern home whatsoever, it will have a farmhouse style look to it. Either a New Englander or very traditional New Englander, or a farmer's porch. You know, it's gonna look it's gonna look nice in that location, and we will not be clearing any trees to make that work, with the exception of where we just bring in the driveway, that's really scrub brush. That's where the driveway's coming off the main driveway, that's already there.
you said you consider putting some trees around to
I don't have
screen.
a problem with the
That
trees,
could
we
be
can
it.
put some spruces in there and some other things and vegetate that, not a problem. We
When
can
we
just
get
stagger
to-
them, we can just stagger some spruces in there and just dress it up and.
But you have cleared it with the.
For our final plan.
For the final
We'll add
plan.
it.
We'll add that to the
I
final
think
plan.
that's fixed the
Yeah,
budget.
we'll add that to the
It'd
final
go a
plan.
long way.
No problem, we'll give you that.
Good, thanks.
Unless you wanna see the nice compound.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other questions by the board?
None. On this end.
Bear with me, I have a lot of reading. Whereas on February 14th, 2019, the planning board received from Oak Ridge Terrace LLC a subdivision pre-application to develop a 14-lot cluster subdivision on a 70.0 acre parcel identified as tax map 17 lot 15A at the intersection of North Skillings Road, no, it's the intersection of South Skillings Road.
Yeah.
At the intersection of South Skillings Road and Limerick Road in the R2 and shoreland zones. Whereas on February 23rd, 2019, the planning board conducted a site walk of the proposed subdivision site. As a result of public input from neighbors and abutters, the applicant proposed to explore an alternative design for the subdivision that entailed improving the private way Laura Lane to minor street standards and developing a 750-foot road named Oak Ridge Terrace off Laurel Lane to support the subdivision of 11 cluster lots on lot 15A. Whereas on April 25th, 2019, the applicant submitted a preliminary subdivision application to the planning board with the proposed revised Oak Ridge Terrace Road and improvements to Laurel Lane. The applicant was required to make a number of substantive revisions to the plan in order to meet stormwater concerns, shoreline zoning requirements, road evaluations, and dimensional requirements. Whereas upon submission of revisions on October 24th, 2019, the planning board deemed the preliminary application complete. Whereas on November 7th, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board conducted a public hearing. Whereupon the Arundel Planning Board has reviewed and given due consideration of the applicant's amended application and has arrived at the following findings. Findings of fact: the owner with right, title, and interest of tax map 17 lot 15A is Oak Ridge Terrace LLC, and the applicant is Walter Woods of Oak Ridge Terrace LLC. The applicant proposes to subdivide a 44.46 acre portion off the 70.08 acre tax map 17 lot 15A and develop 14 cluster lots and build a 750-foot road tentatively named Oak Ridge Terrace to provide legal frontage and access for 9 of the 14 new lots, as well as a 50-foot access strip to the remaining 22.44 undeveloped acres of Lot 15A retained for future development. Number 3, net residential density calculations of unsuitable building area, including hydric soils, wetlands, streams, and proposed roads yields a net residential area of 51.25 acres with the R2 zone's 2 acre lot size minimum, a maximum density of 25 lots can be subdivided on the property. 14 lots are proposed in this first phase, leaving 11 more lots available for development on the remaining 22.44 acres, assuming no additional site development impediments are discovered. Number 4, as a cluster subdivision, the applicant is proposing to dedicate 32.51 acres to common open space to be managed and protected by the homeowners association. The configuration and linkage of the open space will facilitate pedestrian access through the dedicated open space, provided crossings are constructed across Duck Brook. Number 5, Lot 1 will establish legal frontage from Limerick Road, while lots 2 and 3 will be accessed from South Skillings Road. Both roads are town-maintained highways. Number 6, all lots will be clustered and of reduced size, ranging from 15,960 square feet Lot 3 to 65,508 square feet Lot 5. Lots 1 and 2 are proposed to be estate lots with buildable areas of 62,027 square feet and 47,349 square feet respectively after the access strip area is deleted. Number 7, all lots will be serviced by on-site wells, and the applicant has provided documentation that all lots can be serviced by on-site septic systems. Number 8, the applicant is proposing to rebuild Laurel Lane up to minor street standards as required in section 1.61 of the Arundel Street Design and Construction Ordinance, so to provide the proposed Oak Ridge Terrace with direct access to a public street. The applicant intends to petition the town for street acceptance once Laurel Lane is completed. Number 9, the proposed subdivision lots meet and exceed the dimensional minimums for the R1 district and meets the dimensional requirements, I should say R2 district. The proposed subdivision lots meet and exceed the dimensional minimums for the R2 district and meets the dimensional requirements for a cluster subdivision as outlined in section 4.5 and 9.3.12 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance. Number 10, the applicant also has demonstrated compliance with the design and dimensional shoreland zoning standards of section 8.6.2 and 8.6.3 and 8.6.6 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance. Number 11, the applicant has submitted plans, sets, engineering drawings, and stormwater calculations prepared by Atlantic Resource Consultants dated April 11th, 2019, with revisions to October 28th, 2019. Property surveys were prepared by Horizon Engineering and dated June 2019, with revisions to October 2019. Soil surveys and septic system evaluations were prepared by Longview Partners LLC and dated January 4th, 2019. Hydrologic evaluations have been prepared by Summit Geoengineering and dated April 15th, 2019. Conformance with Article 11 performance standards. After due review and consideration, the Arundel Planning Board has determined the final subdivision plan has determined the preliminary subdivision plan application to be in conformance with the criteria of section 11 of the Arundel subdivision ordinance as follows. 11.1, water pollution. The proposed project will not discharge runoff directly into any water body and provides a method of disposal and treatment that will not require a license or permit from the Maine DEP and meets the town water pollution control standards. 11.2, water supply. The proposed subdivision is not within 1,000 feet of a public water supply, and therefore individual wells and on-site septic systems will be installed for each residential and commercial lot. The fire chief has required the applicant to install a 30,000-gallon cistern at the intersection of Laurel Lane and Oak Ridge Terrace with a pull-off apron and dry hydrant to provide fire protection. Additional future cisterns will be required to service future development of the remaining 22.44 acres in Lot 15A. The applicant must provide these plans as part of the final subdivision approval application. 11.3, impact on existing water supplies. The proposed project will not require and therefore not impact established public water supplies or suppliers. Well logs from the surrounding properties indicate adequate water supply for individual wells. 11.4, soil erosion control plan. The applicant has submitted a plan demonstrating adequate soil erosion control measures to protect downstream properties and expose slope during the construction process. 11.5, traffic conditions. The vehicle trip generation of this project onto South Skillings Road is anticipated to be less than 120 trips per day, therefore not achieving a level of Service E rating during the peak hour. The applicant has provided future road access to adjacent to the remaining land on Lot 15A from the proposed Oak Ridge Terrace. 11.6, sewage disposal. Sewage disposal shall be accommodated by on-site septic systems. Documentation has been submitted to the board verifying soil suitability for on-site septic disposal. 11.7, solid waste. The proposed project will not generate undue solid waste volumes that will tax the town's capacity to dispose of solid waste. 11.8, impacts on scenic beauty, historic sites, and rare natural areas. The applicants have designated a large portion of the property for permanent open space that will be retained and maintained by the homeowners association. The limits of project forest land removal are delineated on the record plans. There are no archaeological, historical, or critical shoreland areas identified on the site, nor any areas identified by the Maine Natural Heritage Program on the site. The project is not located within 1,320 feet of any deer wintering yard identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. No portion of the project is within a resource protection district. 11.9, conformance with the comprehensive plan. The project is in conformance with the 2016 comprehensive plan for the R2 district. 11.10, financial and technical ability. The applicant has provided adequate evidence of technical ability to complete the project. The applicant will be required to provide a performance assurance for all proposed site and subdivision improvements, including the reconstruction of Laurel Lane as part of the final subdivision approval. 11.11, impact on water quality or shoreline. The project is not located in the watershed of Brimstone Pond and therefore is exempt from the standards of 11.11. 11.12, impact upon groundwater quality. The applicant has prepared a groundwater impact study prepared by Summit Engineering that documents that the proposed subdivision will not increase NO3-N concentrations above 5 milligrams per liter at the property line. The planning board does note that the proposed nutrient plumes for lots 3 through 11 do subsurfacely discharge into wetlands on the site. The applicant's consultant testifies that the wetlands will adequately process the nutrient load before the plumes reach open water of Duck Brook. 11.3, floodplain management. The project is located in a FEMA-identified 100-year floodplain. No homes are proposed to be located within the floodplain area. 11.14, freshwater wetlands. The applicant has identified all freshwater wetlands on the project site and has designed the project to have minimal impact upon these resources. The applicant will maintain a 75-foot stream setback from designated on-site streams, 50-foot buffer from shoreland overlay forested wetlands, and 100-foot buffers from wetlands containing predominantly emergent vegetation. Wetlands filling will only occur in the driveway to Lot 2. 11.15, stormwater management. The planning board has determined that the proposed project will have negligible impact on stormwater discharge for the 2, 5, 10, and 25-year frequency storms. 11.16, reservation of open space, common lands, fire protection facilities, and private ways. The applicant is preserving 32.51 acres of permanent open space that will be accessible to the residents of the development. Therefore, be it resolved that based on the above findings and conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board hereby approves the preliminary subdivision application of Walter Woods and Oak Ridge Terrace LLC for the subdivision of 14 lots on, this is not 5.71.
Older portion,
25.7.
coffee and basement.
I do believe that that is the case. Looks
So
like
should we pull from the first, very first whereas?
70.08 acres.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. 70.08, okay.
Identified tax map 17 lot.
Right.
58.
Yeah.
For the subdivision of 14 lots on a 70.08 acre parcel, tax maps 17 lot 8B located on, what?
It's, no,
Something
No,
isn't
this
right
is-
there.
That whole line.
That whole line is,
yeah, so
yeah.
when I do it, I'll correct it to.
Based
first
on the above
whereas,
findings and
then just
conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board hereby approves the preliminary subdivision application of Walter Woods and Oak Ridge LLC. The applicant shall submit a final subdivision application with all associated documents and corrected omissions by May 7th, 2020, or forfeit the preliminary approval. So you've got 6 months in which to get us the preliminary, the final approval. Final plans and profiles for Oak Ridge Terrace submitted as part of the final application shall show locations of all underground utilities, transformers, and street trees, and preserved tree stands. Details of the utilities installation shall be included along with a location plan and planting schedule for the required street trees. Tree stands that are to be preserved must be identified on the record plans, and deed restrictions must be included in the homeowners association covenants. Number 3, the applicant shall show the location of the 30,000-gallon water supply cistern required by the Arundel Fire Chief at the corner of Laurel Lane and Oak Ridge Terrace Road on the record plan and the road plan and profile submitted with the final subdivision application. Details of the cistern installation, riser and dry hydrant, loading apron, and protective bollards shall be approved by the fire chief prior to the submission of the final subdivision application. The applicant shall also delineate the location of the fire cistern, maintenance easement on the plans, and shall submit an easement deed conveying maintenance, repair, and replacement rights to the town of Arundel for the fire cistern. Number 5, the applicant shall correct the misnomer duck pond and relabel the water body on the abutting land as Davis Pond.
There you go.
I don't know why we went through all of that.
Wow.
It says so in the findings of fact. I don't know why we went through all of this. The applicant proposes that Laurel Lane will be constructed to town road standards such that it can be accepted as a public street by the town of Arundel. The applicant shall present a letter from the Arundel Public Works Director certifying that the proposed improvements to Laurel Lane meet the minor street design standards as required in section 162 of the Street Design and Construction Ordinance. The applicant is advised that the addition of more than 6 lots in phase 2 may trigger upgrades to Laurel Lane as a collector street. So you may want to think about that before.
We've already had that conversation with Roger. Roger knows exactly what we're doing there, and Roger gave us a direction on what we have to do as a collector road for the expansion of the project, because he knew that we were going in for 22 to 25 lots, and he knows that road is going to be adequately built for that reason.
Works for me.
And we've already gone through the culvert system, everything that we're gonna replace. We've met with the neighbors on site and making sure that they're on board as the neighbors have been on board with us and so on.
Okay. Yeah, it was just put in here, it's part of the resolution, you need to be aware.
The other thing is the fire department already reviewed the cistern and already did this, so I don't know about anything in black and white, but,
We need something from the fire chief.
yeah.
In paper, through the
Yeah,
chair,
He's gotta give it to us in writing.
And Roger as well. We'll get something from Roger in writing.
Yes, sir.
through the chair.
Yeah, Marty?
Question, we have not discussed, or it should be in between there was deflection on coming off the road onto Laurel Lane of a butter, so the headlights were not affecting one particular property.
That's correct. Her name was Susan, and we also have something in black and white with her that will be vegetating
Okay.
where the Oak Ridge Terrace comes to Laurel Lane, she's also got a 6-foot berm there, but we're gonna be planting, some evergreens and spruce within her yard to minimize that impact of, and I've got a meeting, we've already established that.
Again,
The only
on the
reason
on the
I
final
asked
plan.
you that, sir, is that unfortunately, when we were on sidewalk, I mentioned it then, okay? And along the way, being dumb and numb and everything else, that it is, a person that I happen to know,
Nope,
okay?
it will be on the final plan.
That's the only reason I'm mentioning it through the chair.
Keep it in your toolkit, and if it's not on the final plan, we'll,
Well, you know how
I know. Number 7, prior to the submission of the final subdivision application, the applicant must resolve the conflict of lot 3 being owned and subdivided by a third party and not the applicant, and that's what we talked about earlier, so I think you've already resolved that issue. Number 8, the applicant shall submit updated cost estimates of all site improvements associated with the Oak Ridge Terrace subdivision, as well as cost estimates of improvements to Laurel Lane. The applicant shall also declare what type of performance assurance that will be submitted upon final subdivision approval. Number 9, the applicant shall include a restriction on all subdivision deeds and provisions in the homeowners association covenants prohibiting vegetation or clearing within the town's 75-foot stream buffer or within the 50 to 100 feet of wetlands, as delineated on the record plan subdivision plan without prior approval by the Arundel Planning Board.
Got a question on that one, Mitch? I put that in the bylaws as, meeting the, town of Arundel standards, that's in our bylaw specific to that.
Okay,
Okay, that's in the bylaw package that we sent you as a draft.
thank you. Number 10, the applicant shall file a road name application with the Arundel E911 director and receive approval of the name Oak Ridge Terrace prior to submitting the final subdivision application. Number 11, the applicant shall reimburse the town of Arundel for engineering peer review studies prepared by Woodard and Curran prior to the submission of the final subdivision approval, so approved by the Arundel Planning Board this 7th day of November 2019.
Can I take 6 months' time to pay them, since it took 6 months for them to review it? I'd appreciate that.
That would be an interesting discussion. I wanna let the board know on number 7, lot number 3 is being,
He's not here anymore.
Hey, look.
Jerry left?
Jerry left.
Okay, if you look on the lot map, Jerry is swapping this land for this land. And the effect will not change his total piece of land. This entire lot is going into the subdivision. It's being transferred into the subdivision so that Mr. Woods will own it. Once everything is done and finished, it will be transferred back out to Jerry. But I was
Just that
looking
lot?
at it, yes, just that lot, just lot 3.
Just lot 3.
I was looking at it because I was concerned that it would cut Jerry short in terms of the amount of land that he would have. His land has 2 acres, 2.03 acres. So he just meets it. This lot will be Jerry's lot, but it will be part of the subdivision.
So lot 3 will be conveyed back over into
Just as if it was a sale of.
Mr. Court.
Just as if it's a sale of after the fact, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
And that worked well for the purpose of us minimizing the impact on
Yep.
big wetlands and the road construction, so with, working with the people at Laurel Lane.
My concern was that Jerry would have this half-acre lot, and he would want to put a house on it, he can't, because there wouldn't be enough room. But since it's going through the subdivision, he'll be able to.
It'll meet that criteria.
It'll meet the criteria, it'll be part of the cluster, he'll have a house on here, and it will be part of the homeowners association.
So I'm curious,
So it's all in the loop.
excuse me, I'm curious with the homeowner association, is
Yes.
that, is lot 3 gonna be part of like the road agreement? and all
Yes,
that?
as a matter of fact, how we've handled the road association in the bylaws is we actually have Laurel Lane and Oak Ridge Terrace together, as which will be one large homeowners association, because those folks will be using Laurel Lane for access until the town accepts it as well. And that has been, we have documentation, and we submitted in the package of all the people signing off agreeing to that scenario. And then once, and if the town takes them over, then obviously that
That'll
will,
go away.
at that point, it will go away.
Question.
So every lot,
Through the
Laurel
chair.
Lane and Oak Ridge Terrace is part of the homeowners association.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Marty?
Laurel Home Road Agreement at the present time is under one standard. Correct me if I'm wrong. They maintain the road by themselves.
That's correct.
When does that come about that you take it over so that you're maintaining the road instead of the Laurel Lane group by themselves, even though that you're redeveloping or resurfacing the road for future improvement? When do they drop their grouping and you become in charge of it?
We became in charge together. We are all equal share of Laurel Lane and Oak Ridge Terrace are equal shares in maintaining, kicking in money, whatever needs to be done to maintain both Oak Ridge Terrace as well as Laurel Lane together, Marty, and that's how we've all agreed to make that work. And then if the town in the future takes the road over, then obviously that will relinquish the responsibility of us at that point.
Yeah, but I just wanna make it,
And then,
I'm just trying to throw it out as a question.
the other thing is that the Laurel Lane Association is actually deeded. It's in the registry, it's recorded in the registry, so we'll be recording that again once we have final plan of board approval as Oak Ridge is part of that association.
And you'll be recording the homeowners association
That's
for
correct.
Oak Ridge as well, correct?
That's correct, that's exactly right.
So,
That's the only reason why I came and asked you the question.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to
No, it's fine.
blindside or anything else, but for the record, and because they've had their own grouping, they've maintained it.
And they've done well in maintaining it.
And you have,
Couple-
along the
Did you get
way,
any changes?
Oh, yeah.
increased the
Traffic.
qualifications of the road, but also too, of upgrading the road and everything else.
Move along, Marty.
So-
We got a long day.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
I just had a clarifying question on the whole lot 3 piece.
Yep.
The existing home of the courts, will that be in on lot 3, or will there be 2 lots now?
There'll be 2 lots now.
Are we sure we're not creating a non-conforming, or?
Yeah, it's
That's-
just over 2 acres.
So,
it
so
says.
the end result is just over 2 acres?
That's
I
correct.
got you, all right, I
That's
just
correct.
didn't pick up on it.
So the existing lot that Mr. Court lives on now will be 2.03 acres to meet the criteria of the density lot coverage of the
Yep.
town of Arundel.
Yep.
Lot 3 will meet the density of members to the cluster subdivision
Right.
regulations.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll work out well for us.
Yes.
Okay, what we're gonna do is vote approval, but we won't be able to sign these, we're gonna have to get them retyped. Because there's way too many things in here that have to
Too
get
many
fixed.
initials.
So I need,
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the findings of facts with the corrections as noted.
for the preliminary,
Thank you, Roger.
is there a second?
Yay,
Motion has been made and seconded for approval of the findings of fact for the subdivision preliminary approval Oakwood Terrace. Any discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Now, we can't get you on the 21st, because that meeting is full right now.
Why?
The next- It's full. That's
Why is
why,
it full?
because I said it was full. we've got we've got almost 2 pages of stuff to deal
When
with.
would be the next meeting?
It will be December 12th.
That's fine. That's fine, by me. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you very
My
much.
cup didn't say it was full.
Mine did.
Okay.
See you, Sonny boy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Raymond Acres, subdivision of the approved subdivision. Proposed re-subdivision of lot 5-03, addition of land from tax map 30, lot 5A to create a 5th lot in the Raymond Acres subdivision and 22 Black Dog Road in the R2 and SP districts. Nicholas Raymond is the applicant, Mary Ann Raymond is the property owner. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah. What took you so long?
Yeah.
Okay. Hearing none. Whereas on November 8th, 2018, the Arundel Planning Board received the subdivision pre-application from Nicholas Raymond for the proposed re-subdivision of Lot 5-03 and addition of 1.46 acres from tax map 30, Lot 2 to create a 4th buildable lot in the Raymond Acres subdivision located at Black Dog Road, tax map 30, lots 5-03 and 5A in the R2 and stream protection and shoreland overlay districts. Whereas on November 17th, 2018, the planning board conducted a site walk of the proposed subdivision. The applicant was subsequently directed to pursue the land acquisition so that the proposed new lot would have a minimum net developable area of at least 2 acres of upland. The applicant also proposed to develop a cul-de-sac at the terminus of Black Dog Lane as originally approved by the planning board in 1987. Whereas on April 25th, 2019, the applicant advised the board that since the planned land acquisition had failed, the applicant instead requested a substantial number of waivers from the shoreland zoning and zoning standards to permit the division to occur. The planning board consulted with the town attorney who intervened in negotiations with the applicant. Whereas on October 24th, 2019, the planning board received a minor subdivision approval from the applicants to proceed with the re-subdivision as originally proposed with the acquisition of 1.46 acres, 0.063 acres of upland from tax map 30 lot A, the proposed redesign of Black Dog Lane in accordance with section 2 of the street design and construction ordinance standards for private ways. The applicant requested to construct a Y-shaped turnaround within the restored cul-de-sac in compliance with request from the Arundel Fire Chief to use the existing pond for fire suppression purposes. Whereas on November 7th, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board conducted a public hearing, whereupon the Arundel Planning Board has reviewed and given due consideration of the applicant's amended application and has arrived at the following findings. Findings of fact number 1, the owner with right, title, and interest in tax map 30, lot 5-03 is Mary Ann Raymond, the owner of map 30, lot 2 is Marcel Mercier, and the applicant is Nicholas Raymond. The applicant has submitted a purchase and sale agreement for the purchase of additional property from Maurice and Dorothy Mercier on tax map 30, lot 2. The Black Dog subdivision is located off Old Post Road in the R2 district. Existing wetlands and streams on and adjacent to the property are in designated shoreland overlay and stream protection districts. The applicant proposes to realign the 1987 approved cul-de-sac of Black Dog Lane to an offset cul-de-sac, convey 2,905 square feet of land to tax map 30 lot 5-02, and subdivide tax map 30 lot 5-03 into 2 lots with street frontage on the realigned cul-de-sac. The applicant proposes to acquire 1.46 acres of abutting land from tax map 30 lot 2, approximately 0.63 acres of upland, that when combined with the existing upland on the proposed parcel 2 will yield a total upland of 2 acres as required by the net residential density requirement of the subdivision regulations. The proposed subdivision of lot 5-03 into parcel 1 and parcel 2 meets the dimensional standards of the R2 district. The applicant proposes to reconstruct Black Dog Lane in compliance with design requirements in section 2.1 of the street design and construction ordinance as documented by record plans prepared by Sebago Technics Incorporated dated October 16th, 2019. The applicant has submitted cost estimates of the reconstruction of Black Dog Lane in the amount of $14,400. The applicant has identified wetlands and stream protection district and shoreland zoning setbacks on the record subdivision map prepared by Lower Village Survey dated January 10th, 2019, with subsequent revisions through October 2019. Conformance with Article 11 performance standards. After due review and consideration, the Arundel Planning Board has determined the final subdivision plan application to be in conformance with the criteria of Section 11 of the Arundel subdivision ordinance as follows. 11.1, water pollution. The proposed project will not discharge runoff directly into any water body and provides a method of disposal treatment that will not require a license or permit from the Maine DEP and meets the town's water pollution control standards. 11.2, water supply. The proposed subdivision is not within 1,000 feet of a public water supply, and therefore individual wells on septic systems will be installed for each residential and commercial lot. The fire chief has required the installation of a Y-shaped turnaround in lieu of a circle within the designated cul-de-sac to facilitate use of the existing fire pond as a water supply. 11.3, impact on existing water supplies. The proposed project will not require and therefore not impact established public water supplies or suppliers. Well logs from the surrounding properties indicate adequate water supply for individual wells. 11.4, soil erosion control plan. The applicant has submitted a plan demonstrating adequate soil erosion control measures to protect downstream properties and exposed slope during the construction process. 11.5, traffic conditions. The vehicle trip generation of this project onto Old Post Road will result in only 10 additional vehicle trips per day, thereby not achieving a level of Service E rating during the peak hour. 11.6, sewage disposal. Sewage disposal shall be accommodated by on-site septic systems. 11.7, solid waste. The proposed project will not generate undue solid waste volumes that will tax the town's capacity to dispose of solid waste. 11.8, impacts on scenic beauty, historic sites, and rare natural areas. The applicants have designated a large portion of the property for permanent open space that will be retained and maintained by the homeowners association. The limits of project forest land removal are delineated on the record plan. There are no archaeological, historical, or critical shoreland areas identified on the site, nor are any areas identified by the Maine Natural Heritage Program on the site. The project is not located within 1,320 feet of any deer wintering yard identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. No portion of the project is within a resource protection district. 11.9, conformance with the comprehensive plan. The project is in conformance with the 2016 comprehensive plan for the R2 district. 11.10, financial and technical ability. The applicant has provided adequate evidence of technical ability to complete the project. The applicant may be required to provide a performance assurance for improvements to Black Dog Lane. 11.11, impact on water quality or shoreline. The project is not located in the watershed of Brimstone Pond and is therefore exempt from the standards of 11.11. 11.12, impact upon groundwater supply. The applicant has prepared a groundwater impact study prepared by Summit Engineering that documents that the proposed subdivision will not increase NO3-N concentrations above 5 milligrams per liter at the property line.
This needs to be revisited.
This needs to be
You gotta say
revisited.
that's on
Right,
it.
someone's not.
Right.
So 11.12.
11.12, 11.13, the project is not located in a FEMA identified 100-year floodplain, so we can leave that. 11.14, freshwater wetlands. The applicant has identified all freshwater wetlands on the project site and has designed the project to have minimal impact upon these resources. The applicant will maintain a 75-foot stream setback from designated on-site streams and a 50-foot buffer from the shoreland overlay forest. I don't know if that affects you at all.
This looks like it's a cut and paste from last one.
Stormwater
Yeah.
management needs to be redone.
Stormwater. Okay, so 15, 11.15.
Yeah, I would say 12, 14, and 15. 16 is the reservation of open space, common lands, fire protection, facilities, and private ways. There are no common lands proposed in this project.
Through the chair.
Hang on, Marty, I'm not done yet. The conclusions of the planning board the criteria of Title 30A MRSA Section 4404 have been met. The standards of the Arundel subdivision regulations have been met. The standards of Section 5.7, 6.2, and 8.0 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance have been met. Therefore, be it resolved that, based on the above findings and conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board hereby approves the minor subdivision application, re-subdivision of Lot 5-03 in the Raymond Acres subdivision and reconstruction of Black Dog Lane in the R2 and Stream Overland Protection and Shoreland Overlay District, subject to the following conditions. The subdivision must be recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds within 90 days of the date upon which the final plan is approved and signed by the board, otherwise it shall become null and void. Number 2, no changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made in any final plan after approval has been given by the board and endorsed in writing on the plan. Excuse me. Unless the revised final plan is first submitted and the board approves any modifications. The approval of the board of a subdivision shall not be deemed to constitute or be evidence of any acceptance by the municipality of any street, easement, or other open space shown on such plan. Number 4, failure to complete substantial construction of the subdivision within 2 years of the date of approval of the plan shall render the plan null and void. Number 5, before any construction activity commences on the site, the applicant shall submit to the town planner a monetary performance assurance in the amount of $14,400 in one of the instruments sanctioned in Article 13 of the Arundel subdivision, or the planning board may stipulate that no building permit shall be issued until all improvements to the Black Dog Road have been completed to the satisfaction of the design engineer and the town planner. Number 6, prior to the issuance of any building permit, the applicant shall demonstrate that the conveyance of parcel 2 of tax map 30 lot 2 to the applicant has been accomplished. Number 7, at least 5 days prior to commencing construction of the required improvements, the subdivider or builder shall notify the code enforcement officer and the town planner in writing of the commencement of construction of such improvements, so that municipal officers can cause inspections to be made to assure that all municipal specifications, requirements, and conditions of approval shall be met during the construction of required improvements, and to assure the satisfactory completion of improvements. Yes, Marty?
Through the chair, I've asked last time when the applicant was here, did the fire chief actually give a written approval of this? Because last time, or times before, we requested it and it never was done. Second of all, the applicant has turned around and stated they would post bond or whatever else on $14,800 and some odd dollars for completion. Has that also been done? Otherwise, I would say the applicant has completed everything else that's been requested and to control along the way for approval.
I don't know if
We,
Tad has got anything.
through the chair, you were not here.
No, I don't know if Tad got anything related to
No.
the fire chief.
We specifically, at the last time of the meeting, before it was put on public hearing, we bounced and danced along the way, and we would say, yes, the fire chief would give them approval. Have we gotten that? That's what.
I know he and Tad had talked and
I know,
discussed it.
and
he's the one that requested
But
keeping the
I'm
pond,
just saying
yeah.
is, this was
I don't
3
know
to
if-
4
if-
weeks ago.
Yes, Matt.
We met with the John and Tad didn't ask for that.
Dwight, I'm not trying to,
And he talked to Tad.
We've been
So
trying
I see
to-
Yeah,
what
but-
we make
but
that
what I'm
conditional.
saying is,
That's why we have the law
Of the-
on
of
the
the-
circle.
that's why I
Just condition
remember
to-
when I
Get
said
the
that to
number
you.
right.
I said,
That's perfect.
Well-
We've done due diligence. We sat with
Yep.
you've
fire
done your
chief
deal,
and
but guess
Tad.
what? Have they followed through instead of dragging their feet onto you?
You would have to read the findings of fact. Doesn't it mention in there that he
It
talked to the
mentions
fire
that
chief?
it's required, it doesn't mention that it was,
But then
We
you wanted
say-
to keep the pond for,
I'm
He
not
also
trying to
references
hold
a
them up.
why.
Because they
Right,
have
for
done
the
their
turnaround.
due diligence
So
for the
like you
last,
said, we could just have it be a
2
building permit
years.
requirement.
Right, it says that the fire chief has required the installation of a Y-shaped turnaround in lieu of a circle within the cul-de-sac to facilitate the use of the existing pond as a fire water supply. So if we make condition number 8,
Then it goes that way, yeah.
we'll just make it a
I would
condition.
I would suggest condition number 8, that prior to any building permit being issued, we get written confirmation that the fire chief has approved the proposed improvements.
Did you get that, Corinne?
15.
The Y. It's a Y.
well,
Right.
Sorry,
I
I'm
mean,
not-
they're ready to go.
Wrong letters.
Shut up.
You guys are already.
Oh, is that,
Yeah.
They're
Yes,
ready
that's
to
fine.
go.
Yeah,
But the
of course.
fact is, if somebody else is dragging their feet on the other side, it shouldn't stop them.
No.
They have been going through
We'll be good.
for the last 2 years or anything else.
Now,
Oh, one
in,
second.
yes, sir.
I just wanted to address the cost of the road,
1,400.
14,000, whatever. We talked to Tad, we talked to Jim Nagel, and the bond would not be required if we were to do the road work first prior to getting the
That was in
building
the
That's
permit,
correct.
which we have elected to do.
Which was number 5, and I was gonna
Alright.
ask
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
about that.
And
Yeah, so that's what we're
Yeah.
gonna do.
And if
You're,
that, you
you're,
could do
you're
one or
gonna
the other.
do the road.
If you
will
guys
not
do your
have to
thing
post the
tonight, they're in there Monday starting the road.
So you will not have to post the bond, you just cannot get a building permit until
So
it's
you
done.
guys inspect it, say, okay, it's done.
Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then in that case, we need an approval, and then we'll have to get these signed,
Rewritten.
rewritten and signed.
Okay.
Through the chair, I make an approval.
Okay, motion has been made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the findings of fact for Raymond Acres subdivision and to grant,
With that one
With
change.
corrections.
With,
Yeah.
With the
with
necessary
the amendment of the fire chief.
it's not just that one.
No.
Yeah, there's,
There was some typo
You could,
error.
there were a couple of other things in there.
Somewhere in there it said 4 lots, well, actually, this is the 5th lot, not the 4th.
Right, because I think you had
But there's
4.
only
Right, only 3 on the road.
Three
on
Not
the
four
road.
on
Yeah.
First, the
Yeah.
one is up,
Right.
right, off
Yeah.
the
Like,
post.
like the way I run them
All
out.
those in favor?
Aye.
Yay,
Any opposed?
no,
Nope, it's unanimous.
Okay, awesome. So we have a Mylar, is that something you sign tonight, or we leave with you, or?
Leave with us.
Yes, yeah. And,
There you go.
so you're all set with the approval, you can begin, but we have to wait to sign it.
Okay,
That's
but we're all set.
Yeah.
We just wanna get started on the road.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
will get this signed and we'll get
Come on.
it, make sure you get it.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it, guys, thank you.
But guess what?
Okay,
You know where I come from.
I do.
The next
Thank you,
one.
guys.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.
Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve major conditional use application, a proposal to expand facilities at the Cape Arundel Community Center, including an additional swimming pool on a 300+ acre parcel of tax map 15 lot 13.
Yeah,
BI
well, but
district.
where's your, photo stick?
Marty, let me finish reading.
I was just asking him where his.
Not in the middle of the meeting.
I'm sorry, sir.
Proposal to expand facilities at the Cape Arundel Community Center, including an additional swimming pool on a 300+ acre parcel, tax map 15, lot 13, in the BI district. The Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve LLC is the owner and applicant, and Rick Light of Light Environmental Design LLC is the applicant's agent. Now you can ask him a question, Marty.
Except where is his pogo stick so we can see it?
Here we are, to the chair, we have our pogo stick. It's gonna work back here, or should I go up there?
No, whatever, that looks good back there.
Okay.
I'm sorry through the chair.
That's okay, Marty, I'm sorry I got frustrated.
Well, yes, dear.
Okay,
Does the board have any questions about
That-
the project?
that's the next
Any
question.
changes made since the last time you were here?
I'm sorry?
Any changes since the last time you were here?
Or did you make it
No.
look prettier?
I just want to know why the pool's not in yet, so we can go swimming.
We wish it were. The irony is that, we have to wait for DEP technically, so, we like to start the site work, but that's something we'll have to, and it's gunite, so the actual pool would have to wait till spring.
I think you need to heat it,
I don't know.
because I don't wanna jump in cold water this
Yeah,
time of year.
yeah. And again, Joe apologizes, he's down with the flu this week, so he's not able to make it.
Oh,
but
don't
he's-
give us excuses.
Yeah. So, if there's any questions, I'm here
Any
to answer
questions for the applicant?
them.
On my end, no.
Hearing none. Whereas on September 26, 2019, the planning board received a major conditional use application to expand recreational facilities at the Cape Arundel Community Center, including an additional swimming pool, pool deck, pool access road, and recreational equipment at the Cape Arundel Cottage Resort Community Center on a 300-plus acre parcel on tax map 15, lot 13 in the BI district. Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve LLC is the owner and applicant, and Rick Light of Light Environmental Design LLC is the applicant's agent. Whereas on October 10, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board declared the application complete, and upon the site inspection report of the town planner, elected to forego a planning board site walk. Whereas on October 24, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board conducted a public hearing on the proposed renewal. No, that was that was November 7th. Didn't we just have that hearing tonight?
Tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's the
Yeah.
third whereas, sorry.
Yep,
Yeah.
third whereas.
Whereas on October.
Catching up.
Right, that's quite okay. Had me wondering, I thought we had had a public hearing. Findings of fact, the owner of the property and applicant is Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve LLC.
Hold on real quick.
Okay.
Didn't
And
we go to a site walk?
We did a site walk
Yeah,
Yeah,
October 5th.
Yeah,
right.
on October 5th.
Okay.
Okay, so whereas on October 5th, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board held a site walk.
Right.
We need to add one.
yeah, we went for a go ride.
Oh, boy.
So we
That's
can,
it.
well, we can take whereas on October 10th out completely.
No, I mean, I would leave,
Well, because
declare
it-
the application
it-
complete.
Was that then, or was that on the 24th?
October 5th sidewalk.
I don't remember.
I think sidewalk.
Let's put it this way, it was on a Saturday.
Declared
Yeah.
complete.
It was Saturday morning.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right.
Do we,
yeah, because I was gone that week, so I'm not sure.
October
Rick,
24th.
would you mind, Alan, did you, after the sidewalk, you came to the next meeting?
Yes,
Very briefly.
yeah, through the chair, we came on the 24th, and you found the application complete on the 24th,
Okay,
and
maybe it's-
yeah,
so on the October 10th meetings, so we have whereas on October 5th, the Arundel Planning Board held a site walk, and whereas on October 24th, the Arundel Planning Board declared the application complete.
Right, that makes sense.
And then that last statement has to come out, because we didn't forego the sidewalk.
No. No.
Yeah.
Dates aren't matching.
Yeah, because you're saying that, I'm just, because I'm looking at the minutes from
Yeah,
the
I'm looking
10th.
at 24th meeting myself. That's when we meet.
Well, based on Rick's notes,
Uh,
we deemed it complete on the 24th.
Mr. Rick,
I know, but we
please
had two
yes.
clarify
things from them in front of us.
through the fact
Is
that
what I'm
was,
saying. So,
you were
So we should.
at one time showing the pool, but then the other time there was two different issues of showing that there was a 1 acre lot
correct.
being additional to it. And then the second point was putting the pool, even though we did both sidewalks at the same time.
correct, correct.
But, so that would clarify our sidewalk for both issues.
Correct, on the 5th of October,
We did both.
covered both.
Yep.
On the 24th.
But you made both different proposals for, because one was clarification for land use ordinance of adding the 1 acre lot at the time and keeping it separate for the additional pool addition along the way.
Correct.
Yes.
Right, so for this one, for the pool,
Yeah,
We have
There's
through
whereas
the
on
chair,
There's nothing on this.
through
on
the
October
chair.
5th, We had a
Joint
sidewalk.
sidewalk.
We had a joint sidewalk.
The
Yes,
tent
Marty.
was only,
Right, so that wouldn't be on here at all.
right, but I'm just.
The fifth
That's
covered
why
both.
I'm trying to clarify it to the chair.
24.
It may not be dated wise, but we did the site walk
On the fifth.
on both
Yeah.
along the way, but they were trying to keep it two separate units, so it wasn't a cluster
So on
along the way.
the first paragraph, whereas on
Yep.
September 26th is fine.
Yep,
Then we go whereas on October 5th, a
sidewalk,
sidewalk was held.
eliminating the tent.
What I would do is just change the 10th to the 24th and scratch that last sentence.
You
Right.
see where I'm going?
Okay.
Right. Whereas on October 24th, the Arundel Planning Board declared the application complete. Take everything else out, and then whereas on October 7th, November 7th, the Arundel Planning Board conducted a public hearing.
October 24th.
Public hearing is on the 24th.
No.
Yeah.
Public.
The
Hearing
public
was-
hearing was on the 24th, and
Correct.
it was determined complete.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, the
Public
public
hearing
hearing was tonight.
I was gonna
It
say,
was
you guys are
determined-
killing me here.
I know.
It was determined complete on the
Okay.
24th,
Right.
and the public
11.
hearing was on November 7th.
Okay,
The findings of fact,
The 24th
and the 7th.
so it was complete and public hearing, public hearings, okay, I got it, I'm gonna just stop talking.
The owner of the property and the applicant is Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve LLC. Number 2, the property is located at 1976 Portland Road, tax map 15, lot 13 in the BI district. Number 3, the applicant is proposing to construct a second pool facility on the west side of the Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve Community Center located on Patriot Way. Number 4, the facility consists of an 1,800 square foot plus or minus pool, including lap lanes, a 9,000 square foot paved deck, pergola, 120 square foot pool equipment building, bocce courts, horseshoe pits, and seating areas. The pool deck will be enclosed by a decorative metal fence that will connect to the safety fence surrounding the existing pool and deck to the south of the community building. Number 5, the applicant reports that the entire project will create approximately 11,000 square feet of additional impervious surface that is designed to drain into the adjacent detention pond number 51. Number 6, the applicant has determined that the hydraulic capacity is more than adequate to accommodate the increased runoff from the project, and a minor revision to the existing DEP stormwater permit has been submitted and is pending review. Number 7, the applicant does not envision that the second pool will generate any additional traffic given the pedestrian character of the resort. However, additional parking is available at the community center and along the shoulder of Patriot Way. I have no idea what that's processing, however, no additional excavations have occurred. I have no idea what that means.
Scratch that.
Scratch that out. I have no idea what that means.
We aren't writing it.
Conformance with conditional use criteria. After due review and consideration, the Arundel Planning Board has determined the application to be in conformance with the criteria of section 929 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance as follows. 9291, that the use is compatible with and similar to the general categories of the uses of neighboring properties. We need to vote on each one of these.
Through the chair,
Yeah, Marty?
along the way, we needed the DEP permit approval.
When we get to the
No,
very
no,
end.
what I'm trying to state is that through the DE approval, or anything else, the applicant or the approval will be completed upon the approval.
Which is at the, when we get to the very end, to
I'm
the
just
requirements.
saying it now.
9291, I need a motion.
Oh, should you read the whole thing?
That the use is compatible with and similar to general categories of the uses of neighboring properties. The planning board finds that the additional pool and recreational facilities at the Cape Arundel Community Center is compatible with the uses at both the community center and the recreational orientation of the CACP resort.
Yay.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. 9292, the use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the anticipated future development of the neighborhood. The recreational expansion is in conformance with the seasonal resort performance standards and is in fact compliant with the 2016 comprehensive plan.
Yay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? It is unanimous. 9293, that there is adequate and safe pedestrian and vehicular access to and into the site to accommodate anticipated traffic to and from the use. The planning board finds that the application is in conformance with the criteria of section 9337 in that the use reinforces the pedestrian lifestyle of the Cape Arundel Resort. Golf cart parking is available at the community center and parallel parking is available along the service road.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded for 9293. Any discussion?
Yay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. 9294, that there is adequate water supply and sewage disposal available to service the use. The planning board has found that the resort provides adequate water to service the proposed use.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. 9295, that there will be no noise, dust, odor, vibration, or smoke generated by the use that will adversely affect neighboring properties. The pool area will generate noise from bathers and users as it is a recreational facility. However, the remoteness of the facility from abutting properties will not create an undue nuisance for resort non-residents.
To approve.
Second.
Yay.
Any discussion? I'm just thinking, if they're making noise at that pool and they're disrupting somebody in the cottage, they gotta turn the volume down on the control
Yeah.
system.
Don't have to worry about it.
That's right.
Self-regulating.
It's hard to when you're
It is
doing laps.
Yeah.
9296, that the physical characteristics of the site, including location,
Did we vote
slope,
on that?
so, did we vote on that?
I don't think we did.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Opposed? It is unanimous, we did vote on it. 9296, that the physical characteristics of the site, including location, slope, soils, drainage, and vegetative cover are suitable for the proposed use. The planning board has found that the application meets the criteria of section 9296 in that the slopes are improved, that the original plan and all drainage is diverted into the adjacent detention basin. All standards in section 9296 are met.
So moved.
Through the chair,
Yeah, Marty?
does that show when it has the DEP approval? That's where my first question was
Okay.
along the way.
We'll get to that, Marty.
Marty, there's a, one of the conditions of approval at the end addresses that.
Okay.
So I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. 9297, that the use will not constitute a public or private nuisance. The planning board has found that the application will not create a general nuisance to the town or abutting properties.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yay.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. 9298, that all other requirements and applicable provisions of this ordinance, particularly any pertinent performance standards, are met. The planning board has found that the application meets the performance standards of Land Use Ordinance Section 9337 and all other applicable standards of the Land Use Ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, if I could make a
Yeah,
comment.
absolutely.
On the DEP, just to be clear, we've met with the DEP, our application's in process to be submitted, we're gonna be submitting at the end of the week, but it hasn't been submitted, so you might wanna say it is being submitted. We met with them, had our pre-app meeting, done the calcs, and we're submitting, doing the formal submission of the DEP, it was up early in the,
Well,
planning.
for our purposes, the very first criteria says that the applicant can't be, you shall not begin construction until
Right.
the application, until you receive the approval.
Correct, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Okay,
That's where I'm
9298,
Okay, I was gonna say, who did,
Roger and Tom.
was it the duo over here?
I think I moved.
Thank you, yeah.
That's the only where I
All those
was
in
going.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Based on the above facts and conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board approves the conditional use permit of the expanded recreational facilities at the Arundel Cottage Community Center, including an additional swimming pool, pool deck, pool access road, and recreational equipment at the Cape Arundel Cottage Resort Community Center. on a 300-plus acre parcel tax map 15, lot 13 in the BI district, contingent upon the following conditions. Condition number 1, the applicant shall not begin construction until the applicant receives approval of its revised DEP stormwater and said permit is supplied to the town planner. Number 2, in lieu of a performance assurance, a certificate of occupancy for the pool shall not be issued until the design engineer submits a letter to the code enforcement officer and town planner that all of the approved improvements have been completed in accordance with the approved plan.
So those are the not, shall not be issued, is what
Right.
you're saying?
In condition number 2, it should say, a certificate of occupancy for the pool area shall not be issued until the design engineer submits a letter. There you go. So approved by the Arundel Planning Board this 7th day of November 2019.
Well, I move to approve.
One second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the conditional use permit for the construction of a second pool
There's a few edits.
with the edits that were made. Any discussion?
I move to.
Roger,
I'll
second.
second.
Yeah, I know it's
Okay.
YouTube, but if I'm still writing, sometimes
Yeah.
by the time I get to it,
Yeah,
Yay.
I can.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you very much. I have a Mylar, if the board would like to sign it.
If you would like to
No.
leave it with us, we will get it taken care
And
of.
then
No.
we'll pick up from Tad.
Not
Yeah.
tonight.
There you go, and some paper copies too for Tad. And also, if we could get, this is the other one. This is the last one, the recorded copy. Tad wanted a Mylar and a paper of the recorded copy of the Fourth Amendment, the last one.
Okay.
And this
The
is-
one, the other one we were talking
Yeah,
about.
this is the actual recorded version he wanted.
It would-
Yep.
Go to Tad.
I don't carry, I don't.
Yeah,
Take
I'll
care of
Okay.
stick it in there.
It's-
And
I'll take it up
here's,
there tomorrow.
I'll leave these here for, to sign a date, if you'd like. For
Just
tonight's-
roll them up,
Okay, and you'll sign those, right?
and we will get them.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick.
It's keeping me busy.
That should be back in the office in the next day or so.
Rush through it. There were a lot of.
It's easier if I have a copy of it with me, and that's why I'm always harassing him, but, I mean, I was admittedly working on minutes and not printing the 3.
I could've given you a copy.
I actually got it okay, but usually that's why I harass that, I'm like, man, I need a copy.
The meeting,
I'm sorry, that'll be signed tonight, we can send somebody over to pick it up at Tad's office.
I guess look at me.
Yeah.
I'm-
Do we have a pen to sign?
Yeah,
they
this is
they
my
are right there, I don't know why I had to roll it all up.
Yeah, we approved it. We're the ones who approved it.
Yeah, we'll send someone over to Tad's office to pick it up.
We need a.
We will have these
Mark
tomorrow.
it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
The meeting. Yeah, the show doesn't work.
Yeah.
We'll go through any other business and adjourn, and then we'll sign this.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else? I do know that the next meeting is going to be on the 21st, and we're gonna be looking at the ordinance and setting up some policies and making sure that we get all of that stuff tied up, so that it follows through, and we all, this is what we're supposed to do, and make sure it's all clean. We've got a couple of revisions for the ordinance to look at. We have no applicants on the agenda that night. Because it's either that or we start taking more off nights and doing all of this stuff, and I figured,
We gotta get it done.
get it, yeah, get it done. Okay?
Okay. Move to adjourn?
Motion?
Through the chair,
I like it.
Yeah, Marty?
has there anything been brought back by any applicants about animal husbandry
No.
or anything else about, manure?
There is not.
You've been away
And I have.
No, I'm just saying, you've been away, we had discussions along the way while you were gone.
But I touched base with Tad a couple of times while I was gone. We have gotten nothing in on either one of those situations.
But the fact is, I, at one meeting along the way,
one we had?
I told them point blank, we can't do it if they don't wanna do it.
Nothing else in here?
At this point, we have gotten nothing back.
So guess what?
We're not doing anything. We
No,
don't-
I'm just saying is, we beat ourselves up along the way for too long, and no support and no nothing. So there's no point of us trying to do something and not getting anything done.
The meeting is adjourned